Yo, what they do, man? It's your boy KOL Carter here with another reaction vid. Today I will be reacting to the new Superman trailer breakdown from New Rock Stars. Y'all need to get over there and follow them right now. Subscribe, hit that bell notification for all their latest news and all the new movies that's coming out and TV series. They're usually like always on point with everything. Like always. So let's get into this and let's see what they're talking about. And make sure after this video, y'all get over and check them boys out. The link to this video will be in the description. So let's get it.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of the final trailer for Superman. With tickets now on sale for the July 11th release, there are a ton of new shots in this, plus some major updates from James Gunn and the cast in a recent Entertainment Weekly article and a Fandango interview. So I'm going to go frame by frame through this trailer and break down all the details you missed and just everything else we have learned about this movie that you need to know going into it. Be sure to check out nerdride.shop, where we have some amazing designs on shirts and hoodies and other items, all of which go directly to supporting us here at New Rockstars. Thank you so much. Let's get started. Superman.
The most powerful being on planet Earth.
Okay, from the start, we can see that this trailer is 2 minutes and 9 seconds, which is just a fun bit of coincidence considering the full movie's runtime is 2:09, 2 hours and 9 minutes. That will include at least one post-credit scene. This trailer opens with shots of skyscrapers in Metropolis that was shot in downtown Cleveland, dominoing into each other over this bridge where cars are driving. I assume this is during Superman's battle with the kaiju. You can see the Luthor Corp towers in the background, which I bring up because in the Entertainment Weekly article, James Gunn confirmed that every disaster that hits Metropolis in this movie is connected to Lex Luthor. So that includes the kaiju and the Hammer of Baravia. He's the man behind it all. This trailer in particular centers around the character of Lex Luthor. And in that article, Nicholas Hoult cited the All-Star Superman panel where Lex has been working out and tells Clark that the muscles he just gained in the gym are real. So that tells us that Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor in this movie is kind of a gym bro and views himself as a physical alpha. At the very bottom of this opening shot are a few flags, including a yellow and blue one that I failed to correctly identify in a recent video. This is the Delaware state flag. We also see this flying in the Daily Planet newsroom in the promo shot where Beck Bennett, Steve Lombard calls Clark a loser. So why Delaware? Well, because in some versions of Superman comics, the city of Metropolis is located in the state of Delaware, along the Delaware Bay, right across from New Jersey, where Gotham City is located.
Can you tell which app is a trap? Google Playcam. Download apps, not traps.
Get award-winning YouTube TV to watch live sports and the latest shows. It's no
State of Delaware, along the Delaware Bay, right across from New Jersey, where Gotham City is located. Sometimes Metropolis is in New York, while in other iterations it's in the Midwest, near Smallville in Kansas. Canonically,
I'm sorry for the ads, everybody. I gotta get YouTube Premium, man, ASAP, cause boy, this is annoying.
DC Earth is larger than our real-world Earth to give more room for cities like Metropolis and Gotham, along with all the other cities that are normally on the eastern seaboard. And this Earth is also bigger to make room for additional countries like Kahndaq, Corto Maltese, Pokolistan, Markovia, Baravia, and Jarhanpur. And you'll notice that all the residents of Metropolis in this shot and in all the trailers really have an interesting consistency in their fashion, giving them blue and yellow palettes in much of their clothes, which just creates an interesting vibrancy in this film with Superman's palette and all of these shots. I feel like this is something James Gunn pulled from the feel of Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely's All-Star Superman. This woman who was driving on that bridge covers her head in her car and looks over to see Superman hovering his body to hold up the bridge at the last second. It seems like it was just...
I see, I wouldn't say a lot of people, but just one person talking about how this shot makes it look like he's Spider-Man, and I don't understand. I feel like it's a new shot that we've never seen before in a Superman film. I feel like it's different. Like, I don't see the problem, man. I don't see the problem.
To save her and her alone, because he doesn't even want to let one person die. Superman rises from the clouds of dust that I assume are from this collapsed building after letting what's left of it gently fall without anyone getting seriously hurt. All right, moving on.
We finally meet. Now, as planned, I'll destroy you And of course, that reporter you always do interviews with.
So Lex's jet lands in the Arctic ice, and as the door lowers, I love how you can see Eve Teskmacher in her cute little snow outfit with a huge grin on her face. Lex is with Eve as well as the engineer and Ultraman. Now, the Entertainment Weekly article gave some context for the engineer, saying Luthor is particular about who he surrounds himself with, including Angela Spica. In the comics, she's depicted as a woman made of liquid machinery who can morph her body into different weapons. This incarnation of the character, played by Maria Gabriela de Faria, isn't quite like that, instead using nanotechnology to alter herself. One sequence in the film, a sprawling battle that plays out in a baseball field and is orchestrated from afar by Luthor, sees Angela summon swarms of nanobots running through her body to create razor-sharp throwing discs. De Faria describes the engineer Superman as having an edge to her. Quote, I imagine that Lex and Angie had this work relationship where they respect each other so much, she says. Angela highly believes in Lex's idea of making the world a better place. She's practically given her life to Lex for this greater good. But at the same time, I feel like there's an element of an underlying relationship going on between the two of them. It's not in the movie, she clarifies, but De Faria remembers telling Gunn, I feel like these guys Now, to be clear, again, that's the actress's take on the energy between the engineer and Lex, but it is clear that Lex's ego is big enough in this movie to allow rival affections from both Angie and Eve Teskmacher. And this quote also tells us that those drones that are flying around all the fight scenes that we see throughout Metropolis on Lord Tech Field while fighting the Hammer of Baravia and the Kaiju and the skyscrapers above Metropolis, all of those drones are being operated by Lex to monitor the battle. Now, for Ultraman, James Gunn wouldn't reveal as much in the Entertainment Weekly article, but we did get this. There's also a mystery figure on Team Lex called Ultraman, whose entire body is covered by a black suit. Gunn continues this air of mystery, but the character has comparable abilities to Superman, including laser vision, strength, and flight, based on the trailers. When asked if Ultraman is Luthor's attempt to create his own Man of Steel, the filmmaker replies, I think that's close. Ultraman is sort of Lex's thug and is pretty powerful. Now, there have been some theories that Ultraman could be played by Henry Cavill, but I dispelled that in my video earlier this week. Others have been suggesting that Ultraman could just be played by David Corenswet, and that he's going to be playing two different characters in this movie. And I think that theory makes a lot more sense, but they are clearly hiding a lot about him in the marketing for this film. I do agree with the speculation that Ultraman could be the same person as the Hammer of Baravia, though, considering the Hammer of Baravia has heat vision, and he might just be someone normally contained within that same quantum unfolding chamber pocket universe that we see Superman inside of, because Lex somehow manages to open the door to the Fortress of Solitude. How could he do that? It's a fortress! To me, the only way this makes sense is that if he has Superman currently contained within that portable pocket universe that he would be carrying on him, and that presence alone would be enough to activate the door. At CinemaCon, James Gunn teased that this movie would show us, quote, pocket universes, sorcery, flying dogs, and Max Fleischer cartoons. And then on May 26th, while talking to Entertainment Weekly about Peacemaker Season 2, James Gunn said, you've seen what we call the QUC, the Quantum Unfolding Chamber, in the first season of Peacemaker, and we see more about that technology in Superman. And he said the QUC is the center of the story in Peacemaker Season 2. So in Peacemaker Season 1, Peacemaker showed Vigilante his quantum unfolding storage area.
How is it so big in this place?
It's a quantum unfolding storage area. It leads to a dimensional nodule outside normal space.
So I think we are actually seeing a lot of the QUC in this trailer. And the way the QUC leaves this reality at the end of the movie is going to have a major impact on Peacemaker Season 2. But in this shot, I love how Eve is crouched over with this hilarious bit of excitement, kind of like Mike TV shouting at Willy Wonka's Wonkavision.
Are you an American who's making $50,000 or less a year with no Medicare or Medicaid? Good.
Wonka's Wonkavision. As Superman's robots try to attack Lex, I'm always amazed in this shot of Nicholas Hoult not even flinching as robot parts and sparks and the engineer's razors whiz right past his face. Lex promises to kill both Superman and, quote, that reporter you always do interviews with. So Lex can even read between the lines of Lois's writing about Superman that actually there's some romantic sparks between them. We actually do see Lois's cover story in one of James Gunn's behind-the-scenes promos in the prop newspaper he's holding, but it's too low resolution to make out. But I'm assuming Lex Luthor read that article, which would make it kind of an insult to not say the name of Lois Lane, because she would be a famous reporter, and everyone in this conversation would know who Lex is talking about. All right, moving on.
Who raised you as a child?
I'll kill them too.
Lex now demands, who raised raised you as a child. And we see shots of Jonathan and Martha Kent caring for an alien Superman in his childhood bedroom. One thing that Entertainment Weekly article brought up is this interesting idea of the third Clark identity that they created for David Cornsweet to play in this movie. The article says it's only in his scenes with his co-stars, particularly Brosnahan, that Cornsweet truly finds the specifics of the character. There are the main Superman and Clark Kent personas that he shows the public, but, Cornsweet explains, we also had this third character of who Clark is when he's in the room with somebody who knows both sides of him. He's not really playing the character of Superman, but he's also not really playing the role of Clark either. It's a personality that only comes out with his parents and with Lois once she really gets to know everything about him. Now, as Lex Luthor threatens Jonathan and Martha, we see the location he's been saying all of this from, the grid of containment cells that I'm pretty sure is inside of the QUC pocket reality. Who is this weirdo behind Lex? Now, I've seen this guy in some other B-roll used in the marketing, riding a kind of treadmill-looking floating device, but this guy is named
I've never noticed that. I have never noticed that. Is that an alien? Shapeshifter?
Mr. Handsome. Now, Mr. Handsome is a name pulled from the Catwoman Defiant comics, an enemy of Catwoman, but here it seems like Mr. Handsome is a name that James Gunn came up with for this creeper with the terrifying garish appearance. In a Fandango cast interview moderated by Perry Nemiroff, a colleague of mine whom I recently killed off cruelly early in a backyard game of the Traders, Nicholas Hoult and James Gunn told Perry all about Mr. Handsome and how Nicholas Holt's son apparently loves this character.
I remember your son's favorite character was Mr. Handsome.
With me, then Mr. Handsome. Yeah. No, it was Mr. Handsome. He kept on talking about Mr. Handsome the whole time. He would be laying in bed and then he'd be like, Dad, Mr. Handsome.
Mr. Handsome is Lex's, creature he created in a petri dish that drives around on this, flying platform.
Strange alien.
The ugliest, grossest creature in the world. And for some reason, also, I remember one of our producers, Chantal, her son also was just obsessed with Mr. Handsome.
He sticks with you.
Now, we also know that Lex keeps Metamorpho in this grid from other trailer shots. From the May trailer, Metamorpho's hand turns into kryptonite in Superman Cell, and that's how they
Why? I always said Metamorpho in this looks like what's his name? Looks like Zordon off of Power Rangers. He looks just like Zordon in the movie when they seen his body in the crystals. He looks just like a raisin.
or him to keep him there. But in a different shot, Metamorpho's hand seems to be turning into sunlight that conveys a change of heart as Metamorpho produces solar radiation to repower Kal-El. Actually, the Entertainment Weekly article also went into the character Metamorpho. From a writing standpoint, Gunn approached this DC pantheon practically, i.e. characters aren't there just to be there. Take Metamorpho. In Lex's pursuit to defeat Superman, he needs to pinpoint his vulnerabilities. One of them, as anyone can tell you, is kryptonite, the green mineral that can substantially weaken and even harm the bulletproof man. But where does Lex get it? Well, there's this guy, Rex Mason, who can change his body mass into any natural element, including, you guessed it, kryptonite. He just needs a compelling enough reason to persuade Rex/Metamorpho to do this for him. There are certain clues within the world of Superman that hint at Metamorpho's origin story, like the presence of Stag Industries, a company that's intertwined with the character in the comics. However, audiences will meet Metamorpho in the film, quote, in full swing of who he is, Anthony Kerrigan notes. You're in a situation where it's having to hurt someone, having to be an agent of the bad guy, and at the same time, there's this struggle to want to be good.
Jesus.
To be an agent of the bad guy, and at the same time, there's this struggle to want to be good. The Barry alum continues of his character. What the film does brilliantly is it puts you in the situation of, oh, he has no choice. He has to be doing this, and you see how painful it is. And we get a big clue as to what the motivation is. Metamorpho/Rex Mason's son, Baby Joey, later in this trailer. Baby Joey is the child that Metamorpho makes with Sapphire Stag, the daughter of Stag Industries CEO Simon Stagg. Simon Stagg used his baby grandson as a King Midas type figure who can subtract protons from nuclei to transmute any substance into any other substance. That would make this baby a super valuable metahuman to evil men like Lex Luthor or Simon Stagg, someone Rex would be desperate to get back. And it seems like now Lex Luthor is using this baby as a kind of leverage to force Metamorpho to do what he wants him to do. And in this clip, we see the 4 Superman robots lifting Kal-El's injured body. Reminder that these will be voiced by Alan Tudyk, he's number 4, Michael Rooker, he's number 5, Grace Chan, she's number 12, and I've been theorizing that number 1 could be voiced by by Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor on Smallville and is a good friend of James Gunn's, and Michael Rosenbaum did confirm that he will be voicing a few ADR lines for some mystery character in this movie. Today's video is sponsored by Straight Arrow News. We love their mission. I like to think that you, our audience, comes to New Rockstars to find out what's going on in the nerd world because you trust us. We're here to help you stay on top of what's going on with your favorite movies and shows by giving you the facts about what's going on and the proper context to understand what those facts really mean. That's what news should be. No bias, no spin, just the facts. And that is exactly what you get from Straight Arrow News. Clear, factual reporting that allows you to get a more complete picture from the news you read and better understand what's going on. Their reporting is unbiased, highlighting both left and right-leaning stories and delivering reliable, factual news coverage on events across all sides of the aisle for a full picture of current events. I don't know if you noticed, but it kind of feels like there's a lot of current events this year. Paying to keep up with them would make you go broke, but Straight Arrow News is a free app and website, so you don't need to deal with a paywall to get your news. Go to san.com/newrockstars to check it out. You can visit through the link in the description. When you visit, you not only support us, you're also supporting a group of journalists who are raising the bar on news by delivering news without bias, filter, or spin. Welcome back to Trustworthy Journalism. Let's move on.
No matter what you do to me, Luther, your plans won't work.
Wrap it up.
Good luck with that.
Okay, we see a new angle of Superman fighting the kaiju in Metropolis. We see a sign for the Big Belly Burger, but now the Bob's Big Boy inspired chef logo has a beard and glasses, and I wonder if James Gunn might have based his look on Steve Agee, who plays Task Force X operative John Economos in James Gunn's DC titles. The LED billboard that once showed an ad for the musical 8 has now cycled into an ad for Doe's Holes Donuts. I also just spotted a sign for these in Lord Tech Field, home of the Metropolis Meteors. We'll get to that later. There's also a sign here for the Metropolis MTA. Take public transit, and we see a figure hailing the train that kind of looks like Superman stopping the train. And the TV news anchor for the Sphere Network now reports on something about Metropolis schools, maybe the schools closing from all the chaos. And again, I have mislabeled this guy as Christopher Reeve's son, Will Reeve, the ABC reporter who will cameo as a TV news anchor in this movie. But this guy in this shot is actually Lawrence J. Gilligan, who also voiced a news anchor in Creature Commandos. So presumably it's the same character in animation and in live action. As Superman dives out of the way of the kaiju's fire breath, we see down below there's this blue and red sign for something that begins with a Z that also shows up in the shots of Lord Tech Field. Kind of looks like the Zest brand, but I don't think it's that. Now Superman's voice responds to Lex saying, "No matter what you do to me, Luthor, your plans won't work." The Hammer Bravia heat visions an ad pitch meeting for Choco's cookies. Then Superman withstands the flames and the eyes up here moment.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
And we see a new shot of Lex saying, "Wrap it up." But then we get to this new shot. Whoa, someone with long, messy hair. Bucky, that you? Heat vision Superman in this red brick sewer or a subway station. At first glance, I thought this was Lobo, the alien from DC Comics from the planet Sarnia, who works as an interstellar mercenary and a bounty hunter, confirmed to be the villain of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow next year, played by Jason Momoa. But Lobo does not have heat vision. So this could just be Ultraman with his helmet removed. And all of these trailer shots, again, are just doing a really good job hiding whoever's face this is. That's why I think it could just be Corn Sweat. Superman looks upward and taunts, "Good luck with that," presumably at Lex's threat earlier to hurt Superman's dog Krypto. And your little dog, too. Like for the other characters, I think Superman would be really worried about them getting hurt, but trying to go after Krypto is almost as dangerous as going after him. Now, the 90-degree angular pattern of the floor that Superman's standing on makes it look like the QUC pocket dimension. And notice the skin around Superman's eyes is red and raw. This might be a temporary effect after he used heat vision, or perhaps using heat vision when he was in the process of being depowered. Then this crazy shot. Krypto and Superman working together to fight some floating soldiers wearing Luthor Corp armored suits colored green and purple, as the Lex spots are in the comics, with LC on their chest plate for Luthor Corp. But according to a Superman Friends and Foes kids book, this movie calls these Lex soldiers Raptors. And we also saw these Raptors in the May trailer containing Superman and hurting him in that grid of containment cells. But in the shot, Krypto gets the first pounce and bites off the Raptor's helmet, setting up Superman to wallop him and knock out some teeth that bounce off the camera lens. Yeah, this is kind of a meta Looney Tunes type of gag. something that really ups the fourth wall breaking of even like times we've seen blood or dirt getting on the camera. But I think it's also the fun type of action that we've been missing. Like maybe turning to the camera or saying a joke or a catchphrase could be kind of annoying, but just punctuating a hard hit with something a little meta could just be a great way to make the audience feel that hit. But now the background context of the scene starts to reveal a lot more about the final battle of this movie, because we can see a massive trench has opened throughout the middle of Metropolis. We started to see a similar trench forming in the water in the last trailer with a bluish cubic texture to it, and we see a new angle of that process in this trailer a little later, and we see how it has opened a vast canyon throughout the middle of the city, several blocks of the city. It kind of looks like that canyon may be forming in multiple directions even. It's kind of hard to tell. I think Metropolis might be located on like a kind of island or peninsula that's bordered by a bay on one side and a river on the other. So maybe Lex's QUC operated on quantum technology that has gotten damaged or just overwhelmed, and technology that has exploded in the middle of Metropolis, causing a warping of spatial distance and a type of black hole singularity, a disaster that might have also unleashed all of the monsters of Lex's collection throughout the city. I mean, James Gunn called his initial phase Gods and Monsters, and maybe the monsters is going to be a big part of how the DCU is unleashed. So yeah, looking closer at this overhead shot of the blue rift forming throughout Metropolis, you can see bands of light bridging the gap in one area. It could just be sunlight refracting through the dust and the debris of this, but it could also be a type of radiation or maybe an energy field that's just being ruptured by this pocket universe spreading out so fast. Then this shot of Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, with his bowl cut, getting face to face with Superman. I'm pretty sure this is in the Stag Industries lobby, as both of them are encased within Guy's green bubble, and he calls him Big Blue. Now, in some other shorter TV promos that were released this week, we see more of Guy Gardner creating the giant hands to swat away the tanks and the troops of Baravia in the battle with the Jarhanpur fighters, and now we see that one of those big hands is flipping them off. We again see Lord Techfield as Superman fights Ultraman and the Engineer, where Mr. Terrific is laid out in the grass at the Engineer's feet. Various Lex Luthor drone cameras are monitoring all of this, and we see a sign for Soda Cola. That's the big DC in-universe popular soda brand. We see another sign for Doe's Holes, for Weber Wireless, and now I can make out a new sign, McAvaney's Lager, a brand of beer that could be named after comics writer and editor Mike McAvaney.
Watch NHL games live.
That could be named after comics writer and editor Mike McAvaney. And all of the names of past ball players on the upper decks of the stadium are names of crew people who work on this movie. I've talked about them in past videos. But there's a new shot of Mr. Terrific in his floating chair, flinging his T-spheres toward the camera. In one of the short promos that came out this week, we heard a different line from Michael Holt in this scene.
Dog! You brought that dog, man!
But then, one of the craziest shots of the trailer, Superman in some kind of extra-dimensional space as a tendril snakes around his neck, and Superman holds in his right hand this little guy, Baby Joey, aka Joey Mason, the son of Rex Mason, aka Metamorpho, and we actually see Metamorpho in this shot all the way on the right. He is the source of the tendrils as his body is morphing into different textures. He's not attacking Superman, he's trying to create a net to help Superman and tether him to his baby. And then on Superman's left, that furry covered thing is Krypto, but in front of all of them are like hundreds of red and orange, yellow, purple cubes, like all the colors of the rainbow. Cold looking breath exhales from Superman. So is he in space? Is he using his super breath to try to control the situation or to propel them back away from whatever this is? And you can see on the edges of frame a band of light or a ring of light colored blue and one colored golden. All of it encircling a deep, dark void that seems to be sucking in all of these cubes. So what are we seeing here? Could this be what it looks like when the Quantum Unfolding Chamber pocket universe collapses on itself? Could each cube represent a different cell containing a monster or metahuman? Was Baby Joey in one of these cells? And that's the deal that Metamorpho made with Superman in order to free him. Actually, in the later shot of Superman telling Mr. Terrific, I'm doing serious stuff, it looks like a black hole is forming around him in the background. So I'm thinking in this shot, Superman and Metamorpho and Krypto are trying to save Baby Joey from getting sucked in with the rest of the QUC into a black hole that is formed. Now in this shot, Lois Lane pilots Mr. Terrific's T-Sphere ship with other staff from the Daily Planet. We see Editor-in-Chief Perry White, who still has his cigar in his mouth. Photographer Jimmy Olsen is there with a Lord Tech laptop open on his lap. Lord Tech is the tech brand of Maxwell Lord, and it was also the brand of Lois's audio recorder in the May trailer. We see that Jimmy Olsen is chewing on a pen. The Entertainment Weekly article talked about how Lois doesn't smoke like she does in the comics, but she does have pens everywhere, and she often chews on them as an oral fixation. And it looks like Jimmy has picked up on this habit as well. We also see in the ship sports columnist Steve Lombard boarding, and as it takes off in the back row, that's gossip columnist Kat Grant and reporter Ron Troop. But there's no no seat for Steve Lombard as it takes off. He has to stand and crouch because he's a loser. But the ship flies away from the Daily Planet building. Then, within that huge rift, Superman picks up a lamppost or a traffic pedestrian crossing light maybe, and swings it around like a bat to smack whoever this long-haired foe is, assuming it is Ultraman with his helmet off. Moving on.
They chose him. Let them die.
Hey! Quit messing around! I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Okay, here we see the people of Jaranpur chanting Superman's name, and we see this kid who we saw in the December teaser who held up the yellow flag. Now he's joined by other kids to help him hold it up, making it a kind of like Flag of Iwo Jima pose. But of the mobbing Jaranpur people, most of them are just carrying shovels and other garden tools. But we do see one guy with a cinder block and another dude with an assault rifle. But notice how there's news media on the left taking photos. I'm wondering if this could be Jimmy Olsen. Lex rages at his Luthor Corp workers in his command center, saying they chose him, let them die. I'm assuming these employees are questioning their CEO for targeting innocent civilians, and Lex is furious that any civilians would still support the overpowered extraterrestrial freak that he finds repugnant. Then there's this little humorous moment where Mr. Terrific yells down at Superman in that huge rift. The gravity of the shot is a little confusing, since Superman seems to be below Mr. Terrific, looking back up. But A, there could just be some inverted gravity of this trench as a black hole is sucking everything down, and he's trying to resist that. And B, Superman can resist gravity and levitate under surfaces like this, but he does seem to be gassed out in this moment. Notice his hair does droop downward from his head here, and the skin around Superman's eyes is reddened here as it was in the previous shot of him looking upward, so this would be around the same time. I just love David Cornsweet's take on this line.
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
He's so just like out of breath and falsetto and defensive, and it just makes the moment pretty grounded and funny. It just shows how he and Michael Holt have really known each other for a long time. I think I'm really gonna enjoy seeing these two work together in a kind of partnership. In that Fandango interview, James Gunn confirmed that Superman has been active as a superhero in this world for 3 years. And then in the Entertainment Weekly article, James Gunn went further to confirm that
I don't think certain stuff really matters. Like if you have on-screen chemistry, just have on-screen chemistry. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to try to write in jokes just to make them like seem like they're friends or have been friends for a while or whatever. It's like, okay, man, it's like, whatever.
this DCU, all of metahumans have existed on Earth for 300 years at this point, so it's not unusual for average people to see other gods and monsters walking around. Like Gunn specifically alluded to King Shark and Dinosaur Island. Technically, everything we saw in the animated Creature Commandos is DCU canon, which includes the history of G.I. Robot and Sergeant Rock in World War II, and the public's beliefs of the Themyscirans, everything that went down in Pokolistan, as well as the existence of a Dr. Phosphorus and a Batman in a Gotham City. James Gunn also confirmed to Entertainment Weekly a DCU Wonder Woman movie is in the works, and that separately he's writing another secret sequel follow-up film that is impacted by Superman. That movie will not be Superman 2, and it will not be a Justice League movie. It's going to be something else. But behind Superman in the shot, obviously something crazy going down below that has the swirling rings of light that I talked about before, looking like a black hole, or at least what a black hole looks like in Christopher Nolan and Kip Thorne's minds for the visual effects they created for Interstellar. So yeah, I think this might be kind of a quantum singularity created by the quantum unfolding chamber being damaged, essentially creating a black hole in the middle of Metropolis. All right, on to the final part here.
My favorite shot from any trailer that they've ever dropped. Man, boy, that is chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. They snap.
Hey, buddy. Eyes up here.
All right, we see a close-up of Superman's chest emblem as he unleashes his heat vision on a swarm of Luthor Corp raptors. He spins, creating a 360-degree beam that takes all of them out, and it looks awesome. And notice the trench yawns beneath them, so this would also be part of the final battle. In fact, I think the teeth-knocking out shot leads to this. The trailer ends with the "Hey buddy, eyes up here" moment, shot of Superman quickly launching into the sky past Lord Tech Tower as the camera struggles to crane up and follow his movement. And it turns into this call to action to try to see this movie in IMAX. It's clever, though I will say, having to turn my head and like move my eyes around to see different parts of screen, as immersive as that can be, is also kind of gripey. gripe that I personally have whenever I see things in IMAX, because I just personally like to be able to see the whole frame in one field of vision without turning my head. I don't want to miss anything, and it helps me better appreciate the editing of a sequence. So whenever I see stuff in IMAX, I sit in the furthest back row that I can get. Or I'll see things in Dolby first, and then the third time I see something, I'll go to IMAX and just try to fully immerse myself in the movie. But I like how this call to action uses some shaky aerial footage of Superman's furious flight. The shorter promos that came out give us another angle of Superman's flight, and I think the way James Gunn is shooting this really does capture the speed of the movement, but really Superman's frantic energy to get someplace as fast as possible. Like, there looks like there's some true effort to thrust himself forward that's being exerted here. Comment down below with your thoughts on this trailer, and a special thanks to one of our YouTube members, Penguin, who supports us at the executive producer level. Thanks, Penguin. Follow me at EA Voss and subscribe to all of our channels in the New Rockstars Network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Okay, my thoughts on that is that I have high hopes. I have very high hopes for this movie. It's a lot going on from the looks of it. It's a lot going on in this one Superman film. Like, it's a lot. I don't know, like, how you can quite do some type of character development if we're being introduced to these new characters for the first time. I don't know how you can fit all that in 2 hours. Because, like, some fans, like, would like to be invested in, like, the characters that they're watching. We already know the Superman origin. We've seen him and Lex go at it since the beginning. Ultraman, I really want to see who that is. Like, will that be Bizarro? That would be kind of dope, but I want to see, like, how would Lex have gotten Bizarro to even, like, I gotta see that. Because I remember from the cartoon, I think he made Bizarro in the cartoon. But in the Superman and Lois series, the CW series, I know Bizarro was, like, from this alternate reality. And he was like Superman, but the opposite. Like, the S was switched. He would get weakened from the sun rather than get, stronger from the sun, and he would get stronger from the kryptonite rather than get weak. So that would be a dope take if they do introduce Bizarro as Ultraman. But didn't Ultraman have his own identity in the comics? I have to go look that up and see. But yeah, man, I have high hopes for this. I'm very hyped. I will be going to the movies to watch this one. So yeah, the link for this video will be in the description, so you can go watch it there. You can tell them that KOL Carter sent you. Shout out to New Rockstars. Like, they're very faithful. And let's see what will happen with this movie, man. Let's see how it's going to do in the box office. It's been a pleasure. KOL Carter. Easy.